and welcome to episode 27 of the Classic Rock Podcast. For those about to pod, we salute you. In this episode, Brian will look back at 1988 in my year in rock. We'll also dig around for hidden gems. And we'll also discuss epic rock songs.
Epic.
So without further ado, here he is, the noddy holder to my Dave Hill. Everyone's favourite. No, I mean everyone's favourite. Here's Brian.
Hello, Matthew. How are you? Good evening to you on this epic Sunday evening.
Yes, good evening to you.
Episode 27. 27, what a scary number. Sometimes when it gets to 27, people don't get to 28.
Well, it's true, actually. I was thinking that as well, funny enough.
Yeah.
Sadly, the 27 Club.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get podcast 28 will break that taboo for us.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay.
I think so.
You and I are way past 27, so we're fine in that respect, of course. Anyway, how are things with you? What is happening in Brian world?
Things are good. I went to live gig this week.
Did you?
I did indeed. I went to see Smith Kotzen, who you're going to see. You're going to see on this week coming. Very good. Very good. I had a double take a couple of times. They were playing the garage in Glasgow, and it was like, there's Adrian Smith, who we've seen headline Download, and we saw him in Twickenham, and he's playing a club. It was great. Honestly, great show, great sound. The dynamic between both Richie and Adrian was great. They shared the vocals really well. The new album, as you and I reviewed last year, came across really live, and they were having a ball. And I just give a little mention to the Dust Coda as well too, with the support band, who were excellent. They were really good. They got a great sound. For a support band, sometimes they don't get a good PA sound, but they sounded great. Singer was he was Glenn Hughes-ish in some of his screaming and high end of his vocals. So it was nice. Do you know what? It's nice to go back into club. However, I'm still getting used to, everybody in a club, and Adrian Smith's 50 feet away. Why people have to get their mobile phones out so that they're able to take a photograph of his left nostril. I got a nice spot for the gig, everything all set up, and 3 minutes before Adrian Smith and Richie Kotzen come on stage, I am basically surrounded by the Alps.
Cool people.
Exactly. So I'll have to get used to that.
Well, it's a good point, actually. I think that, mobile phones should be banned at gigs, frankly. It seems the more popular a band or an artist are, the more everyone gets their phones out. Yeah. I don't mind the odd song. Maybe record one song, because you're never going to watch the entire gig again. And there's plenty of people who do it on YouTube to watch, whoever you want to see live or official stuff or whatever. Yeah. But it's really, there's lots of those. We should do a whole episode on the do's and don'ts at gigs. Chattering away during the slow bits of a song, just because it's good. Hear someone chatter. So, did you see EastEnders last night? No, I didn't. Did you? Oh, come on.
It was. And don't get me wrong. I'm okay if
that's just my wife saying that.
Yeah, the protocols of gigs, Matt. Put your phone away.
I know we should do a whole thing on that, because there are some annoying habits. But you can't kind of legislate for tall people. Tall people are allowed to go to gigs. And speaking of someone of kind of 6-footish height, I'm like you. I'm merrily standing there, and all of a sudden, some 6'4" guy, or well, probably not girl, but 6'4" guy stands in front of me. And I think, well, okay, it's the people on the shoulders I don't like particularly. Come on. Yeah.
So that was me. That was my gig of the week. They were great, and I'm sure you'll enjoy them when you go and see them.
I wonder how many Iron Maiden t-shirts there were there.
Well, Wasted Years seem to get the biggest shout for the evening.
Yeah, there are a lot of Maiden fans around, and and the one I'm going to see on Tuesday in London is sold out. and I'm quite surprised at that. But then again, I'm not, because it's it's one of Iron Maiden, and
Yeah.
so we'll see.
That was me. First bit on the news, live music.
Also in the news, something that caught my eye recently. I think we might have talked about this. You'll know about this because you know about all sorts of stuff. So you certainly know about what's that word? I can't remember what it is. When you get lots of people from different bands, and then they all come together in one band. What's that called? I can't remember what it's called now.
Supergroup.
The supergroup. Thank you, Brian.
I'm going to have to come up with a jingle for that, aren't I? Supergroup.
There's a supergroup in the offing, featuring kind of ex-members of, well, not ex, soon-to-be ex-members of Whitesnake, plus Nathan James. We talked about a lot. The band called Iconic. Now, I Googled the band Iconic, and there are loads of bands called Iconic. Little kind of few bands that play on holiday camps and things like that. So I don't know who's going to get dibs on the name, but the Nathan James incarnation of Iconic looks pretty good.
Oh, yes.
It's got, tell me who's got in it. I've had a complete mental block.
No, it's I'll tell you.
Michael Sweet's in it.
Yep, from Striper.
Indeed. Tommy from Whitesnake on drums, whose name's completely escaped me as well.
Tommy Aldridge.
Tommy Aldridge, of course. Joel Hoekstra, as well, going back to me now. Joel Hoekstra on the guitar. And I don't know why I'm listing these people. But anyway, it's a big
Marco
old
Mendoza.
That should be interesting. I bet Nathan James is thinking, oh my God, I'm in a band with all these guys. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
So we shall see about that. In other news, there's a Dio documentary coming out this year. I think it's been kind of in the pipeline for a while.
Yeah.
And it looks quite good. It's called Dreamers Never Die.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, quite a nice name. It's going to be premiered in a couple of weeks at the South by Southwest Festival. And I don't know when we'll get to see it or how we'll get to see it in this country, but look out for it all the same. Could be interesting. Essentially, Ronnie James Dio's autobiography in documentary form, in video form.
Yeah.
He led quite a colourful life till his sad death in 2010.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that, Brian?
I am indeed. And the book, have you read Ronnie's autobiography yet? I think it was written by Mike Wall. Neither have I, but it finishes, from what I gather, whenever Dio headline Madison Square Garden in 1986. So the autobiography, or his official biography, we'll call it that, ends in 1986, whereas the documentary covers everything up to the end. And as you say, from 1986, what are all of the things that happened? He rejoined Black Sabbath, and he recorded more material. Obviously, Black Sabbath then turned into Heaven and Hell.
Yeah.
It'll be the full telling of Ronnie's story. I have a funny feeling that Ronnie may be coming up a little bit later in one of the segments of our show. I'd be very surprised if he didn't.
Really? I
think it'll be a great. There's not many singers who have the multiple careers and the iconic bands that Ronnie has sung in. And
absolutely. An amazing
singer,
amazing character.
Yeah.
Some new music to discuss.
Yeah.
So I've been listening to 3 newish albums. Quite a diverse mix, actually. Scarlet Rebels, who we talked about, are one of the up-and-coming new wave of classic rock bands from out of Wales.
Yeah.
And they've got a new album out. It's been out a couple of weeks called See Through Blue. And it's really good. It's very kind of, takes me back to, 1980, 81, Tigers of Pantang, maybe a bit of, certainly Tigers of Pantang resonated when I was listening to it from that era, maybe a bit Maidenish. Some great songs on that album, I'm Alive, and my particular favourite is These Days. So, check out the new album by Scarlet Rebels. I've also been listening to a new album from Goodbye June. They've been around for a little while. This is their 3rd album.
Yeah.
And It's pretty good. It's called See Where the Night Goes. And I was listening to it, actually. I do most of my listening when I'm out walking the dog, I'll be honest. And I was listening to it yesterday. And I thought, it reminds me of sort of a mashup between the Black Crowes and AC/DC.
All right, okay.
I wonder if anyone else will think that. But yeah, some good songs on that. Step Aside and Three Chords are the songs that are getting airplay at the moment in this country, or have done. Yeah, it's good album, good interesting album. And then the third album, which has been out a little while, and you and I have seen this band a few times, is Carpe Diem from Saxon. Now, if you want a proper, meat and potatoes metal album, stick this on and turn it up to 10 or even 11 because it's great.
Yeah,
it's got some good stuff on it.
It's well produced as well too. I have to say the production on it's excellent, and Biff's voice is
amazing.
Superb. Yeah, it is.
For a 71-year-old guy, and it just shows you age is no obstacle to singing in a very successful metal band.
Yeah.
So and then finally, new music wise, so we talked about a band called Herd a couple of episodes ago, who had a song out called Remedy.
Yeah.
Well, they changed their name to King Herd. Now, I think they're going to be massive, this band. They're one of my tips for the top, to use that old cliche. They've got a new song out at the moment called Medicine. And already they're out on tour. They've already been added to festival lineups. They're at Steelhouse this year, so you and I will see them. They're out with Reef. They're out with Collateral. And they're out with Dan Reed this year as special guests. So yeah, check out a band called King Herd, and particularly the couple of singles they've had out recently, Remedy and Medicine. You won't be disappointed, boys and girls.
Well, we'll make sure that we stick some stuff up on the playlist. From the band. I'm holding up the end for the old guards because the two releases. Actually, there's loads of new music's coming out. The Flower Kings, which is a progressive rock band from Sweden that I like, they've a new album that came out last week. But of course, the album which I was hotly anticipating as one of my albums of the year was released on Friday, which was the Marillion album. Marillion's album, which was An Hour Before It's Dark, came out on Friday. I've had a good listen to it, which is it picks up from their from the last studio album, Fear, for Marillion. It's very epic, and it also Steve Hogarth's vocals are fantastic as well too. But what you have to praise Marillion for, they're the first band that ever, when you talk about crowdfunding albums and being able, even last when we were talking about bands going out on tour and literally the audience paid for the insurance for the tours, so Marillion find good. So the album's great. If you're a Marillion fan, you'll enjoy it. But I thought what was interesting in the news was that they're in London. This is going to suit you and anybody who's down in London who listens to the podcast. For the next 10 days, there's a number of Marillion taxis that are going around London.
Oh, really?
So they're liveried up with the album covers, and if you can hail down the Marillion taxi, it'll take you to a place. It'll take you to your destination for free.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there is a Marillion taxi. I don't know if it's a fleet of them or one or two, but if you see the Marillion taxi in the next few days whilst the album's out promotion, and I just thought, hats off to Marillion for finding good, quirky ways to promote the album by promoting free taxis in the capital of the country. One of the nice things that I saw in the news this week was Mike Portnoy. So obviously Mike Portnoy split with Dream Theater, 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. And he went to his first Dream Theater gig in the last few days, Matt. So he was sitting at the mixing desk. James LeBray, the singer, gave him a shout out. But I thought it was really, really nice the way in which he went and hung out with the guys. He's been recording with them all separately, etc. I thought that was really nice. He said, "Hey," and the first time, and it's my first time seeing Dream Theater in 36 years, and I thought that was really nice that they've all got back. They're all back together, and he seemed to have a good night, and I appreciate it. So nice to see Mike back with his Dream Theater buddies.
Very good.
Yeah,
very good. So that is the news and new releases. News and new releases. So last time, Brian.
Yep.
If you remember, in our Valentine's Day special. Do you remember that was quite surreal, wasn't it? When David Covenant somehow got cross line with us.
He did. Do you
remember?
Yeah, it was quite scary. It was. I felt really bad kicking him off the show. You know, DC.
You did wish him well, though. That's very good of you. I only picked up on that afterwards, actually. When you, yeah, very clever.
I know. So clever, you missed it.
Exactly. Yeah, we were listening to it. Kate and I were listening to it in the car. I thought, I see what he's done there. Yeah, very good. So, Brian, last time I set you the year 1988.
Yes,
as your year in rock. Yeah. Now, two things. One. Had you started university then? I can't remember whether we established whether you were halfway through.
I think I did. Yet. I think I did.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No, you couldn't have done.
I couldn't have done. No, I didn't. No, I wasn't 1988. 1989 was uni.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. 89 to
93.
2000 and... Anyway,
exactly.
So that was 1988, Brian. Memories of 1988. How old were you then? You must be about 17, were you?
Oh, that's very kind of you, sir.
19.
I was 19. No,
right.
19. 19. Paul Hardcastle. Phil Lynnett's last single. Stop talking about 19, Bright. Yes, I was 19. I was 19 years of age. It was. I obviously wasn't doing anything much rock and roll. Matt, because when I went to my setlist.fm and checked out my wall at the side of where I have all my gig tickets, and I went, I can't find any tickets or any gigs that I went to in 1988. So I'm like going, what was I doing? I probably went to quite a lot of local gigs. So no gigs in 1988, Matt. However, I have a smorgasbord of fantastic albums in 1988.
Very good.
And these are ones that we bought as well too, which is fabulous. So I'm going to kick off 1988 with Easy Peasy. It was my album of the year in 1988. We all know, it was the fourth studio album of Europe. It was out of this world. It sold 3 million copies worldwide. I remember I bought the silver disc single, Matt, of Superstitious, which is a great single. It was the first album that obviously John Norum had left the band during the final countdown. So Key Markello joined the band, played guitar, phenomenal guitar player. I got to see them the next year when they toured the album. Out of This World, I might just try and sneak on the entire album. No, I won't. But Superstitious, Open Your Heart, More Than Meets the Eye, some great tracks on that. So that's my first out of the blocks, Matt. Big hitting album from Europe. The next one, and I'll be interested to see where you are on this artist, because we haven't mentioned the great Yngwie J. Malmsteen for a while. So Yngwie's well known as probably being the modern day Ritchie Blackmore, i.e. never really holding down a main lineup. And he's always had some great singers, Graham Bonnet. So in 1988, again, fourth studio album that he put out, and he got together with Jo Lynn Turner. So Jo Lynn Turner, again, Rainbow, and it's Yngwie's most commercial offering. You know, I think it got into the Billboard Top 50. It was a fantastic album. Some of the tracks on the big single, which we would have seen on Raw Power, was Heaven Tonight with all of Joe's multi-layered vocals.
That's a great song, isn't
it? It's just, I'm trying very, very hard to not to break into song, and then we get hit with publishing.
Please don't, because you're a terrible singer.
Thank you, but as an album, it's really, really good, and it's a nice mixture of obviously Joe's very commercial vocals and Yngwie's neoclassical guitar, but it was really, really well done. I'll put a couple of tracks on it, and they got some radio play for it, which was fantastic. The next album, it seemed to be a year for guitarists. Skyscraper came out from David Lee Roth. Big, obviously Eat 'Em and Smile, which was the debut album. The second album, Skyscraper, I have to say it would be my favorite of all of David's solo albums. You've got Just Like Paradise, again, was a great single. You had the kind of, I suppose it was a bit like Wanted Dead or Alive, the kind of acoustic Damn Good. You had, Skyscraper itself, Knucklebones, Hot Dog and a Shake. It's such a great album. Fantastic. I played that. That was probably one of my go-to albums of 1988. And then the last album, the No Rest for the Wicked album, Bob Daisley was back in the band writing, but it was the first one to feature Zakk Wylde. And I remember when, again, MTV, you're watching the first single, Miracle Man, and it was just Zack's playing. It was just, his vibrato was just fantastic. But there's tracks like Crazy Babies. I went mad when the videos came out for Miracle Man, Crazy Babies, and Breaking All the Rules, because Geezer Butler then joined Ozzy's band on bass and he did the tour. So you're like going, yay! So really, really good album, really strong album. I've mentioned a couple of my favorite track on the album, which for many years was untitled. You know the way some albums, Matt, where they'll have a hidden track on it, and this track was called Hero. Is just a phenomenal track. I'll put it on the playlist. It's just to me, it's the Ozzy Zakk, probably my favorite album of the 80s for Ozzy. So there you go. That was 1988 for me. How about you, mate?
Well, I actually went to a couple of gigs in 1988. I saw Michael Jackson in 1988. Would you believe?
Was that Wembley Stadium?
No, Milton Keynes Bowl. And that's not that relevant to this podcast, but I did go and see Michael Jackson. I'm quite proud of that, actually.
Yeah.
Along with about 60,000 other people in Milton Keynes Bowl. I saw The Mission as well, who were at their peak in 1988. They had their album Children out, and the standout track from that was produced by John Paul Jones, by the way, of Led Zeppelin fame, of course. Yeah. And the standout song is Tower of Strength, which, dare I say, is a bit of an epic.
Yeah.
Ooh. We'll come on to that later, the whole epics thing. Couple of other albums that came out. New Jersey by Bon Jovi, the follow-up to Slippery When Wet. I actually prefer it to Slippery When Wet, to be honest.
I'm with you there.
Yeah, it's got some great stuff on it. I mean, it is a bit more of a mature album, and but it's got a bit of humor on it. It's got 1980 in the Shade, Bad Medicine, Blood on Blood is a good song. Maybe autobiographical, you never know. Mm-hmm. Love for Sale, which is a kind of a throwaway blues sing at the end, which is quite good. So that was a good album. I saw them the year after, actually, also at Milton Keynes Bowl. On the New Jersey Syndicate tour. That was 1989, though. Mm-hmm. Iron Maiden, we've talked about a lot, and they're very prolific. They seem to have an album out every single year that we talk about, and 1988 was no exception. And they brought out probably my favourite Iron Maiden album, which is Seventh Son of the Seventh Son. I think when we did that Desert Island Discs thing a few episodes ago, that was That was one of my albums that I would have under my arm as we crashed down in the airplane.
Yes. Yes.
But it's again a great album. It's I think for a lot of people it's probably their favorite Maiden album. Can I Play with Madness is on there. The Evil That Men Do, Moonchild, and the title song, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, with the guitar synths. Brian, you were probably had your finger on the pulse then.
Yeah.
But that kind of keyboardy guitar synth sound, which they didn't overdo on the album. But it sounded pretty good, didn't it?
It did. It was. They started to play a little bit in the Somewhere in Time album. I remember Stranger in a Strange Land. They were introducing the guitar synth. You're absolutely right. It was guitar synths that they started with, but then actually Steve Harris started to add in keyboards.
That's
so right. further down the line in later albums, that's Steve was bringing in synthesizers, and Adrian Smith played synthesizers. I know. Obviously not.
Do you remember also in that year, Kingdom Come?
Oh.
Now, in recent years, Greta Van Fleet have been chastised for sounding a bit too Led Zeppelin-like, and in 1988, Kingdom Come were equally under the spotlight for sounding a little bit too Zepp-like.
I think you're being very kind to Kingdom Come there.
Well, they were. Well, I remember the time there was all this kind of outcry about, you sound too much like Led Zeppelin, and it's too derivative, and even I think Robert Plant commented fairly indifferently, as Robert Plant often does. That said, there's some good songs on that album. I remember.
I agree.
I think I had the tape of it, the cassette of it.
I had as well.
Don't know where it is now, of course. But it's got a couple of good songs on it. Pushing Hard and Get It On. I mean, they are very, very Zepp-like when you look back at them. But all the same, good album. Fronted by Lenny Wolf.
Yes.
Which I'm not sure that was his real name, but it's a good name all the same.
And Danny Stagg. Danny Stagg was on lead guitar.
Are they all named after animals then? Brian Sheep and John Fox and.
Do you know what? If it would be the first German that would be known by the name of Brian, Brian Sheep.
Well,
yeah,
you never know.
I can remember hearing the single "Get It On" again on MTV or whatever. And this I'm giving it away of how little I knew of Led Zeppelin at the time, because I heard the riff, the riff, for Get It On, and I was going, what a killer riff that is, and that may be somewhat derivative or heavily inspired by a certain Kashmir, maybe.
Yeah,
and then you hear then there's the epic tune on the album, which is called "Loving You," which is all very acoustic and it's his vocal delivery as well is very plant and lots. But I agree with you. It's a great album. It's a really good album.
Still good, all the same.
And they were playing it. Would you believe they were playing Kingdom Come over the tannoy on Wednesday night?
Really?
Yeah, they were playing. They played the single off the next album, their album In Your Face. They played the track "Do You Like It," and that's the first time I'd heard Kingdom Come in about 10 years, or whatever. You sort of stand at it, the way they'll play, and you're going, "That's Kingdom Come." Yeah. So they were.
Yeah, I have to wonder who puts together those as kind of tracks, those blocks of songs you hear between bands.
Yeah.
If they got any sense, and they make them, rock classics. But quite often you hear something a bit strange, don't you? So, Brian, that was 1988.
What a fabulous year!
It was a good year. Yeah, geez, a long time ago, wasn't it? 34 years ago. Oh my goodness.
Do you know what will make you feel old? Before I'm just buying myself some time, Matt, till I decide what year I'm going to give you.
Okay.
Do you know what made me feel old today? Is that on the 18th of March this year, Iron Maiden will be releasing the 40th anniversary commemorative cassette for Number of the Beast. Yeah. And I went, sorry. Is it not? Is the Yes album not 40 years old, or the Beatles? And you're kind of going 40 years since Number of the Beast. Anyway, I've bought myself enough time to decide which year you've got for next time. Let's bring it right bang up to date. I'm expecting lots of Ariana Grande and Little Mix in this. I'm going to give you 2018, mate.
Okay, very good.
Excellent. So good luck with that.
So, Brian, when we were putting together this podcast and we were looking back at 1988, made me think, particularly with referring to Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, made me think about epic songs. What makes a song epic? Why are some songs called epic? Why are some songs called anthems? I really don't know. But I thought I know a person who will know, and that is one Brian Maley. So, when we talk about our favourite epic songs, Brian, what do you think makes an epic song?
It's bloody long.
Yeah. Do you think that's always the criteria?
No.
Normally it is.
Normally it is, and in some ways it's generally a not necessarily a long song, but there's going to be different moods within it. So there might be, if I'm thinking about epic songs that we'll go through, it might have an acoustic guitar start, then some strings, and then the drums will come in, and then it'll be jingly jangly guitars, and then it'll be rock out for the end of it. So there'll be lots of maybe time signature changes and different stuff. That to me, I'm already in my mind picturing the epic songs, and usually Ronnie James Dio singing them.
Well, yeah, good call. So let's hear my theory.
Yes.
I think all this goes back to heavy rock, as we've discussed once or twice. There are reflections with classical music.
Yes,
and in an epic, there are quite often different sort of
sections,
or what they call them in the musical world.
Movements.
Anyway, movements. That's it. I knew you'd know.
But movements can mean something else.
Exactly. No, musical movements, not music and movement. We used to do when we were kids, but at school. But the musical.
That
movements.
wasn't the movement I was thinking of.
Right, let's move on.
Sorry,
keep it clean, Brian. Keep it clean. So it's. I think there are kind of similarities with classical music, certainly with epic songs, and certainly rock. Yeah, I think it does lend itself, certainly because it's mainly album driven. Obviously, there have been rock singles over the years, and we talked about a few of those. Yeah. But the album does, and certainly did, lend itself to long songs. Yeah. And as we know, there are certain bands who have chosen to, make the entire side of an album one song. Yes, 2112 by Rush. For
Absolutely,
example. Yeah. So I think that's where there are similarities, and the different moods, as you say, the different kind of sections and movements within a piece. Yeah. I think there are three. I'm interested to know what your view is on this. There are three probably epic songs that stand out, and we could put them to one side.
I'm pleased. It's funny. I was thinking exactly the same.
The definitive epics.
Yes, exactly.
Would you like me to share them with you?
I will, and I've got two in my mind, which I'm thinking. Sorry, I've got three that I think we just discount because we all know they're epic.
I think that we're going to have the same. Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yep.
Stairway to Heaven.
Yes.
And Bat Out of Hell.
Oh, I had Stargazer.
Oh no. No, you got to have Stargazer on the list.
But you trump me, and Bat Out of Hell Bat Out of Hell is absolutely, it is. It's an epic.
But certainly, there are a lot of songs that are over 6 or 7 minutes long, which are deemed to be epics.
Yeah.
And from different eras.
Yeah.
But certainly, I mean, recently there have been some examples, which we'll come to. But it's really the 70s and 80s, which were the golden eras of the epic song, when bands went just a little bit overindulgent, a little bit over the top, and couldn't help themselves in writing long songs.
Yeah.
I know you've got a very funny quote about Rush. And one of theirs.
So in the film Beyond the Lighted Stage with Rush, Stephen Colbert is interviewing the guys from Rush, and he turns around and he says, Have you ever written something and played something so long that you ended up being influenced by yourself? And the three of them just looked at each other and fell about laughing about the grandiosity of Rush's material. So I thought that was fun. That was fun. Yes.
It's a good point, but I don't think a long song necessarily means an epic. I think first and foremost, you've got to have a good song.
Yes.
And as you say, it's got to have light and I think light and shade is a prerequisite.
Yeah.
And maybe, as you say, some piano, some sort of gentle introductory music. I mean, for example, as you say, Stargazer sort of starts high tempo and stays high tempo, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that is an epic because and I think having that kind of Eastern theme, for some reason, equals epic. And if you think about that and Kashmir, by Led Zeppelin, and also Lost Horizons by Michael Schenker Group, they've all got that kind of Eastern sort of tinge to them, which seems to be the part of the formula, part of the alchemy for conjuring up an epic song.
Yeah, very much.
We still need to work on some songs, Brian, because we need to flog them to Sony for millions of dollars, by the way. So I hope you're writing away at home on your acoustic there.
On my Bontempi keyboard.
Exactly. On your Woolworths acoustic and your Bontempi keyboard. But certainly there's that kind of Eastern flavour which seems to kind of give that epic feel.
Yeah.
But certainly songs that have got a slow start and build up. I mean, I think as one or two people have said already on Twitter and Facebook when we talked about this, songs like One by Metallica.
Yes.
That's got that sort of very atmospheric, sort of only a few notes riff that introduces the song. But and I think as someone else said, quite often these epic songs are the signature songs of these bands.
Yeah.
What do you think the difference between an epic song and an anthem is, Brian?
So I will give you an example by using a band, and how I would split the difference between an anthem and an epic. And I'll use a band who you've just mentioned, but we won't use that song. So I'm going to go to Queen, and I'm going to say an anthem of Queen's would be "We Will Rock You," because "We Will Rock You," simple, easy. There's a slight possibility even I could remember the lyrics of "We Will Rock You," and it's crowd pleasing and everybody can sing along to it. You then go to the epic side of it. I would pick Innuendo. So Innuendo, which was one of their last singles, where you have the can I say the Led Zeppelin Eastern, there's elements to it, and then you had the middle eight where Steve Howe's playing that classical minstrel bit. Yeah. So to me, epic is interesting and light and shade. Anthems are all right now. It's like the ones that are going to get your arm going, and it's they're going to be the big. It might not be the single, but it's going to be that's how I would split the difference. Along. Is that good?
It's good. I think that's good. That's a good way of explaining it. Actually, the anthems are probably living on a prayers, and as you say, "We Will Rock You," and "Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City." The crowd pleasing, sing along, jump up and down. Whereas you say the epics are probably the ones that you sort of on the edge of your seat, waiting for them to play them and send you home feeling happy.
Yeah.
I can't not mention Diamond Head, of course, and they're epic. In fact, I wrote a couple of epics, actually.
Great.
Am I Evil, of course, is very well known. Night of the Swords from the Canterbury album, both of which have got that kind of, maybe certainly Night of the Swords has got that kind of Eastern feel to it. Not that it's a prerequisite for an epic, but certainly it appears to be a regular theme.
Yeah.
What else you got for us, Brian?
No, so I'm gonna. So you mentioned "Living in a Prayer" by Bon Jovi, which is the anthem. One of their epic tunes, which is on the "Keep the Faith" album. It's a fabulous track, "Dry County."
Oh yeah.
And I say Dry County because at the end, it's got the piano bit, it's got the slow build up, and then at the end there's just Richie Sambora's playing some insane electric guitar, which kind of, I can probably segue an epic song. So it reminded me, Dry County reminds me of the end sequence in Freebird from Lynyrd Skynyrd. And again, the anthem from Lynyrd Skynyrd would be Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah.
The epic for me is going to be Freebird. So those would be some of the epic tunes.
Do you think there's certain bands that have been commercially successful because of the number of epic songs they write? And I was thinking about this today. We could do a whole podcast on Zeppics. Led Zepp epics. When you think about it, you got Stairway to Heaven, you got Since I've Been Loving You, you've got Kashmir, you've got In My Time of Dying, 10 Years Gone. I mean, they just had this ability to create these masterpieces, which. And I use the word masterpiece because obviously we quite often use that in the context of classical music. Yeah. But I think obviously you need the chops, you need the ability to write, light and shade. But certainly, I think of all the bands that have done epic songs, I think Led Zeppelin must be top of the pile.
I would agree with you. And the reason why I would put Zeppelin at the top of the list would be because they and the next band I'll mention who I think have done some epic material is with Zeppelin. When Zeppelin recorded Kashmir, even Dazed and Confused, which are light and shade within that, they put it on album, 7-8 minute length songs. If I then looked at somebody like Purple. So you record a track like Space Truckin' on our studio album. It's not till Purple went live and you listen to Made in Japan, and there's like a 27-minute version of of Space Truckin' or Highway Star, an epic. So I think Purple move into that bracket of epic, but I think they did epic live a lot. Like when I was thinking of Purple or just thinking of epic tunes, Child in Time is an epic tune for me. And do you know what? Why I think it's epic? Because you and I are both singers. And I was thinking about some of the epic tunes.
Very kind of you to say that.
We both are. We both sung, and still sing. And I often think about some of the Iron Maiden epics. Rime of the Ancient Mariner is the one that comes to mind. And there's an element of it where it's 9 minutes long. It's one of my favourites. It's on Live After Death. For about 5 or 6 minutes, Bruce can go and have a wee lie down and a wee break.
Well, he probably did.
Whereas with Child in Time,
do you think he had a nice little cup of tea?
he was probably fencing. He was probably fencing or reading up on his pilot's license or something. You can't imagine Bruce. Bruce is not the sort of person who's just going to sit there and go, right, I've got 20 minutes. I'm just going to sit here and just drink a beer. He'll be writing a book or, he'll be doing something. Anyway, we digress.
He did get his own back, didn't he, with Empire of the Clouds, which is just a monster. from the Book of Souls album. I think it comes in at 18 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's the problem not a problem, I suppose, but the benefit of CDs in that you can almost be as expansive as you want to be. Whereas back in the day, if you got a little bit carried away, you had to do a double album.
Yeah. So I like Child in Time's epic, but it's epic because Ian Gillan equally he sings the quiet vocal, he then sings the rock vocal, and then he goes into that stratospheric screaming that he did. And you're kind of going, most epic tunes is where the singer can go, right, I bet you Ronnie Van Zant went and had a quick beer when they're doing the 5 minutes of lead guitar bits. So Child in Time would be on my list. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a good point. So far we've established that it's A, long,
yes.
B, it's got an Eastern tinge potentially, got light and shade, and occasionally it's got a singer that goes off the scale in terms of the vocal gymnastics, as it were.
Yes.
I think there is room for a short epic. We talked about Led Zeppelin earlier. Certainly remember something like When the Levee Breaks, which is not a long song, but certainly is. It's got that kind of quality about it in terms of its construction and it's the flavour of it and the feel of it. Coming up today, I think we mentioned Alter Bridge a few times. Blackbird,
yes,
by them is I think a modern masterpiece from the Blackbird album of the same name. One of my favourite songs of theirs, which I would also put in that same bracket, is Waters Rising, which is on the Fortress album, I think it is, sung by Mark Tremonti, one of my favourite singers.
Really? All right, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And there's a difference between having a long song and maybe an epic song. Think about something like Comfortably Numb, which is probably you could put in the epic bracket, but Shine On You Crazy Diamond, maybe not so. Probably similar length songs, but
I think epic for me has got to be. I don't like to use the word. I like to use the word bombastic.
Do you like to use that word, bombastic?
For me, I want an epic song to ebb and flow.
Should we call you Mr. Bombastic from now on?
Mr. Bombastic. If you listen to Forevermore, which is one of the latter Whitesnake albums, Doug Aldridge and what Doug and David wrote in that, it's acoustic, and then at the end it's it's phenomenal. It's very epic. It's got strings, etc. And even Sailing Ships, which is on the Slip of the Tongue album, it's got Glenn Hughes on vocals. Again, nicks your idea of the Eastern element to it as well too. It's got. I think it's got a sitar.
Well, what I've just thought about, Brian, is this is going to take up about 15 hours on the playlist.
Yeah.
But there you go.
And I haven't even touched yet on the putting "Won't Get Fooled Again" by the Who, which to me is I could not have that on the list. That's epic, because live again. That's probably I look forward to that in a set, and there's going to be some bands where the epic song makes the night for you, and to me it's "Won't Get Fooled Again" or Barbara Riley. Again, it's got that intro, and I bet you there'll be those people who go and see Alter Bridge will expect there'll be those who will be going, I want to hear "Watch Over You," or I want to hear Blackbirds. Most fans will want to hear them both, but you're kind of going Blackbirds. It's their signature. How many times does it win the polls of best guitar duo? And in the sort of latter years, it's a modern masterpiece. Stealing your phrase.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Brian, we could go on all night talking about epics.
Yes.
And we invite our listeners, all 13 of them, to come back to us with their thoughts on epics, as one or two have already done so on Facebook and on Twitter.
Yep.
at FT80pod.
Yep.
That's our Twitter name, Brian.
It's not our CB handle.
Not a CB handle or email address or anything. It's our Twitter handle.
Twitter handle.
Is that a Twitter handle? They call that a Twitter? Anyway, our Twitter name thingy.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, next time.
Yes.
It's going to be our St. Patrick's Day special.
Excellent.
Everything Irish.
Everything Irish.
The best of Irish.
Best of
to
Irish.
celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Are you going to be all right with that, Brian?
I think I'm going to be very well.
There are a couple of Irish bands that you've mentioned once or twice.
Yes. And we'll
Irish-based.
Yes. Be the show which will be subtitled 6 Degrees of Separation from Vivian Campbell.
Yes, indeed.
How many times can Brian mention Vivian Campbell in our St. Patrick's Day special?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that brings us to, as I've said this many times, everyone's favourite part of the old podcast.
What, the end?
The end, when we stop. No, we're not quite at the end yet, Brian.
Okay.
This epic podcast is going on a little bit longer because, are you ready?
Yeah, I am.
You really sure?
I am very sure.
Should I do an epic version?
I think you should do a very epic version.
I'll start quietly.
Start acoustically.
Hidden gem time. That was very epic, wasn't it? What have you got for us then, young Brian?
So I'm cheating. I'm cheating, Matthew. I am using the title of your segment where you say hidden gems.
Oh yeah.
So I'm doing plural. So I'm being cheeky. I'm not doing one album. I'm doing 2 albums this episode.
Okay.
Yes. So I am our one of our 12 listeners, Paul, I know
13.
13. So Paul's a massive fan of this band, and you're a massive fan of this band. I think we're all a fan. Okay. Asia. We like the classic lineup of Asia. We've talked about before. John Wetton, Carl Palmer, Jeff Downes, and Steve Howe when they got together in 1982. Obviously, Jeff Downes brought the band back together in the 90s. And the 2 albums which I'm going to put forward as hidden gems for this episode are the albums that Asia released in 1992 and 1994 respectively. So the first album is Aqua and the second album is Aria. Now it is peppered with some special guest spots. So Steve Howe turns up on the album now and again. It's very, very... John Wetton had left Asia at the time and he had been replaced by a bass player and singer called John Payne, who I believe you have seen. You've seen him in Las Vegas.
That's right.
Yeah, so John...
I didn't just bump into him in Las Vegas. He was in a show called Raiding the Rock Vault, which happens to be my hidden... No, it isn't.
All right, okay.
But yeah, John Payne's Asia. That was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was John Payne's Asia. So John took on the mantle of John Wetton. Really, really well-produced albums. Some of my favourite tracks on it, I'll put them on the playlist, is Who Will Stop the Rain, Someday, Anytime. As a double, if this was a double album, it would be just prog-tastic. So I offer up as my hidden gem for episode 27, my 2 favourite John Payne era Asia albums, which is Aqua and Aria.
Very good.
How about you, mate? What's your hidden gems?
bit of a tongue twister, that one, wasn't
There's
it?
lots of A's, wasn't there?
Exactly. You did well.
Thank you.
Well. It was 15 takes, but you got there eventually. Well done. So I'm going to go back to the featured year of 1988, and an album by a band that you and I have seen, and we talked about once or twice. This was their debut album, and it was released in 1988. Produced by chap called Ed Stasium. And also by Mick Jagger. Are you with me yet, Ryan?
I'm thinking
this album is Vivid by Living Colour.
All right, okay.
And it's a great album. It's got some great stuff on it. I listened to it again recently a couple of times in its entirety. Cult of Personality is on there.
Yeah.
Which is probably one of their signature songs, I would suggest. Open Letter to a Landlord.
Yeah.
Glamour Boys. Probably my introduction to Living Colour back in the late 80s was Glamour Boy.
Yeah.
And also their song, What's Your Favourite Colour, which was from the TV show Living Colour. And it's a good album. It's a good album. Vivid by Living Colour. Do you remember that, Brian?
I do indeed. Living Colour.
You like it?
I loved it. It's funny when you said Mick Jagger, I didn't know that he had any involvement with Living Colour from a production. I was thinking Stevie Salas or Dan Reed was whenever you were doing the build up for that. So I didn't know that that's a new one for me. That Mick.
Yeah, I think he might have taken, not he, but the Stones from memory, may have taken Living Colour out on tour with them, which would have been great to be out. Well, any band opening up for the Stones, of course. Yeah. But Living Colour still going strong. We saw them a few years ago. Great band, effortless singer in Corey Glover.
Roger's brother.
Roger Glover's brother. Are they brothers?
What's
I
that?
Know that. Are they brothers, really?
Well, you drop the fact that their album's produced by Mick Jagger, so I have to counter it with it's Roger Glover's brother.
Roger Glover's brother. No, he's not Roger Glover's brother. You're just trying to create another tongue twister, aren't you?
Exactly. You'd be more Roger Glover's brother. Glover brother.
So, just to be clear, Corey Glover is not Roger Glover's brother.
He's not at all. He's not his brother. No, not a brother.
Anyway, let's stop messing about.
Sorry.
For a change. So, my hidden gem for this time, episode 27, is Vivid, the debut album by Living Colour, which was released in our Year in Rock of 1988. See what I did there, Brian? That's clever, wasn't it?
It was. Do you know? It was
either clever or desperate. I think basically.
No. It was very, very clever because I can't believe in 1988 that I completely left out of my favorite albums in 1988, Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime.
Yeah, I'm surprised about that.
Yeah. So if I'd been thinking about it, I could have stuck that into my. I could have put that into my hidden gem, but yeah, you did it.
Anyway, that was it. Is that it? That is it.
It is. Episode 27.
Over.
Nice
Done.
to see you, mate.
You too.
As usual, as Matt said, we thank everybody for dialing in. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe. We're on Spotify, Apple, and all of the usual streaming services. We're on Facebook. We are on Twitter. Kelvin looks after all of that for us. So thanks for that, Kelvin.
Mysterious Kelvin. I thought it was Kelvin's birthday recently. The mysterious Kelvin, the social media guy.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Kelvin, then.
Yeah. He's a bit like Stig. He wants to remain anonymous. He's just known as Kelvin, the social media. I'm not even sure that's his real name, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But he likes to be known as Kelvin, the social media guy.
And I think if he ever decides to leave us, then what we'll do is we'll just, whoever we replace him with, we'll just call them Kelvin as well too. Absolutely. They'll be also called Kelvin, the social media guy. The Kelvin. The Kelvin. the Kelvin. Anyway, yes, what an epic show, mate. What an epic show. What an epic show indeed. Indeed, we enjoyed that. All right. Anyway, no impersonations. No. Which will please one or two people. No mention of King's X? No mention of King's X. No mention of little old men or ladies stopping me in the street, which hasn't happened recently, I'll be honest. For a change. Anyway, we will see
everyone again for episode 28, the St. Patrick's Day special, coming up in a couple of weeks.
Grand. See you soon, mate. Take care. Bye-bye.
Everyone.
For Those About to Pod, We Salute You is a Maley Rogers media production.